Hey, good evening. Sorry for the late start tonight. It's been a interesting one, but we're here for our first kind of like for really session of DCC Pretenders, which is our science fantasy kind of uh full-length campaign. Full-length campaign is a term we use. Sure. But in that we want to make it because there are a lot of little things that are going to be either variations of the standard rules or or additions there to them. I thought it would be good for us to do go through the whole process of actually building the characters because as you'll see later on, hopefully will show up properly. A lot of kind of like I've added other randomizers to the process. So like kind of the way I guess that certain like it's actually a kind of a cool thing that some board games do, like the Battlestar Galactica game where it has like the secret Cylon thing, where everyone has a secret motivation, which is a good kind of like starter for when there's a crisis early on that kind of gets the campaign started that allows them to figure out what they want to do with the situation. So basically, I like the idea of this campaign being pretty open world, but at the same time, it is gonna be giving you just enough that you can decide of where to go with it. So in other words, you'll have characters that are randomly generated with a little bit more specifics than you would normally have, and just like a straight up like purple sorcerer generated funnel character. Um, so they'll have a few little extra details, mostly that pertain to how we augment the careers or the prior occupations, how birth augurs are going to be used, but also again these like secret motivations that tie into that, and when certain things happen that might be, let's just say, a trigger to make um not make kind of open-ended choices very early on in the campaign, like in the first session. um it's likely that your secret drivers and dilemmas that are rolled and known only to you being the PC, uh those might
Me.
those in theory should be good touchstones for what your character might want to think about doing next. So, it's kind of a prompt for, an emergent storytelling, I guess, supposedly, but, obviously it's not something that has to anchor you to anything where you are going to be like, beholden to it. Your characters can change, obviously, but it would be kind of fun because, this is kind of a replacement for a crap ton of backstory, or like trying to ingest a world when it's not just, a dungeon crawl, when there's actually like interaction with the world. The trade-off is your characters will be in a place where they don't know stuff. All they know is what came to them before, and only they're just the relevant stuff that might push their motivations to try one thing over another procedurally. It'll make sense when we get in there, I think. But what I have so I said, minimal lore and backstory. Well, that's true to a point. There's a few things we have to explain just as the setup, that kind of as a prelude to the character build, which we'll be doing for everyone tonight. And we'll be doing that live with our roles. And oh, by the way, so I'm we haven't really done that. Oh, we did it last time. But I just as a reminder, I'm a kind of like a trust you guys, kind of like you guys can use a dice roller. You can use you can roll,
Hmm.
on your end, and it's you're only hurting yourself if you cheat. So no, I'm kidding. So yeah, anyway, and if you need dice, does everybody have the DCC dice, like the
I think
weirdo?
that's a dice.
Hmm?
Yep. I don't have the fun ones yet.
So if you need the fun ones, if you go to can I talk about Purple Sorcerer on here? I can do that, right? That's like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
you
like I don't
can.
know. That stuff works. Oh, it's like, no, that's a different website. Oh, no, that's a great website. So if you go to purplesorcerer.com, Anel and whoever might need to,
Hmm.
there's a die roller on there. There's also an app called the Crawler Companion that you can put on your iOS phone thing, which is really cool because it rolls all the weirdo dice. Or,
Right.
you can get creative
We
and
are not sponsored by Purple Sorcerer, by the
no,
way.
it's just a great website. And we're not sponsored by anyone, clearly, because they'd be pulling out right now. They'd be like, what is this crazy guy doing? Anyway. So yeah, when we get to that, it's not just this moment, but when we get to that here shortly, I think, however you want to generate it, or you can even ask another person on the crew to give you a courtesy roll or whatever.
Right.
So let's talk.
So you're telling me I need my funky dice. That's what you're telling me.
I mean, I think so, right? I think really the only one that's going to initially come up and play is probably a D30. Normally, a couple of tables we use to randomize would have die adjustments that are made by the idea is that there's a series of tables to generate the characters that feed off the previous table, as will become clear as we do it. And normally they would be adjusted. They might adjust your die type through the die step chain when you roll on it to determine certain things based on the thing before. That mean I think we're gonna have to use a different, just because my tables got a little jacked up on that one. I've been still working out the particulars on it, so because of that, I think we might just use a simple positive and negative modifier to simulate that, just to get through the creation process. So
let's talk more dice rolling.
Well, I gotta tell you what we're rolling about. Okay, so
funky. I don't know.
Oh, you did.
Oh. We got to move things around.
Okay.
Faces.
So I'm going to Elena. Did we end up getting that one big old the first document? Did they get converted by chance? I was just going to start at the top of that one, I believe, so I can just kind of go through the basically the kind of treatment that explains the basic setup for everything you need to know that's pertinent to character generation and what your characters are there from the universe, which is like the most minor kind of like introduction to the universe. Try to keep to the relative minimal, but giving enough context to so things at least make sense. The rest of the stuff beyond that will pretty much be resultant of the character. They'll kind of get buried into the randomized tables. So I'm hoping that and then I'll obviously answer questions as they come up. Sure, let's go for it. Why not? It's really fancy looking wall text because yeah, it'll look fancier later.
What are we looking at? If it's on the screen.
Oh, is it shown? Is it not? I don't see. Oh, that's right. I'm not on the. I'm not seeing it.
I'm not either. Is it on the screen, Elena?
Okay.
All right. What are we looking at?
There we go. Oh,
that's
the wrong one. That's the wrong one. No, it's okay. That's my bad. The first one, not the first one from tonight.
Ooh.
The first one from that time. Sorry, my bad. We may go back to that one later, but
initiative part 2.
What's that? Yeah.
Okay.
You're not supposed to put up that picture of Clay in that bikini. That was not supposed to come up on the screen.
Okay. No worries. So I think I'll probably just kind of read this overview really quickly because that's really exciting. Everybody tuned in to listen to me read for a minute, but that's fun. So
I would like to know the overview.
Yeah. Actually, you want to read it, Thorne, just for fun? Can you even read? Oh, you can't see it, but you do.
Is it a brief history of future humanity?
It is
40,000 years in the future. We have evolved. Well, some of us at least. As Earth entered its final death throes, a desperate United Terran nations dispatched their various expeditionary forces into the deep recesses of the galaxy, praying for salvation in the form of a habitable world to replace our toxic home. It was more of a gesture of foolish hope, as faster-than-light travel had yet to be developed, forcing us to rely upon sublight slow boats called generation ships to traverse the stars. As their name implies, the trip would take many generations to merely arrive within detailed scanning range of a candidate world, not including analytical surveys, and on the off chance a workable ecosystem was found, sending the good news, messaging a sublight speeds back home. So it was with great astonishment that one expeditionary vessel returned a mere 300 years after its departure. At first, it was assumed they had run into malfunction and had to abort the mission, but it soon became abundantly clear that something was fundamentally different about the crew, and they carried a message describing why. It was a message of deliverance, of salvation. Do I need to continue?
Keep going.
Am I reading? Am I reading this entire thing? Jeez.
Hey.
Okay.
We can take turns.
Yeah. What is this? The Nume?
The
Numa. The Numa. The P is silent, folks. Least amongst us. The expeditionary crew had indeed changed, having encountered some force that accelerated the evolutionary process, developing within them the ability to interact with the fourth dimension, aka time. And when this upper planar awareness came, the discovery of the first and still only alien intelligence known to man, a normally undetectable am I saying these right? Microbial. Thank you.
Think about your hand sanitizer.
All right, I will. Life form permitting the entirety of the material universe. When combined into something similar to a vapor form comprised of countless billions, they formed a sentient ether mind. This hive intelligence became known as the, here we go, Eretsinu.
Yeah.
All right, close enough. All right. Under normal circumstances, neither species was even capable to comprehend the other's existence, let alone communicate. But as fate would have it, we have unintentionally and unwittingly provided the solution to the first contact. All deep space expeditions were outfitted with advanced nanotech, microscopic robots with simple AI capable of combining into hives to form essentially any tool ever needed, useful when entering the great unknown, one without existence of local hardware stores. Great. So if I needed a hammer, I could just like form into a hammer, this thing. All right.
Get the little nanobots to do
if I needed a tweezer to pluck some nose hairs, it would do that too.
That's a pretty simple one. So yeah, I would think so probably.
Okay. But it could do things crazy. It could do like laser guns.
Not normally you wouldn't be able to do a complex thing, but the next paragraph should
I should keep reading. I see. All deep space expeditions were out. Oh, I already read that part. Just prior to the expeditionary launch, mankind made a giant leap in nanotech. See, I should have kept reading. Creating the Fermites. Nanobots produce on the subatomic level, allowing them greater flexibility in replicating tools of increasing complexity, even certain medical biomechanics. As the Fermites were still relatively untested, it wasn't quite certain how their quantum state AI, freed from the shackles of space-time dependency, might perceive the material universe. The Fermite multitudes aboard the generation ships performed as expected until one expedition near the Oort cloud along the Kuiper belt. Kuiper belt? At the far edge of our own solar system. It was here that two intelligences, each incapable of detecting the other, were finally provided the intermediary translator necessary to spark engagement. Here, at the liminal edge, where the borders of the dimensional universe were weakest, hives of subatomic robots met their vaporous, high-dimensional counterparts. In that moment, Eret Sinu and Fermite merge, forming an entirely new entity, the cybernetic composite of materials robotics with what is this? Ethereal life. Right. I need to zoom in more, I think. The species could perceive our four dimensions and simultaneously operate both within and outside of spacetime. The species would be known as Vis, or the Pneuma. The P is silent. And with it came the power to reshape humanity itself. All right. Someone else continue from here.
Yeah.
We're at the tail end of it. We're at the tail end of it.
All right,
So
I'll do it.
might even see where this is going to start to go here in a moment. If you remember, this is going to slowly morph into a fantasy and see if they can figure out the mindset here. Okay.
All right. Voice of the Protean. In what to the expeditionary crew seemed but an instant, as it occurred outside of linear spacetime, the infant Pneuma redirected their ship through a dimensional breach, instantly removing them from the confines of spacetime and accessing the hyperspace lanes. Hyperspace provided a faster-than-light conduit in which the expeditionary ship crossed the galaxy in far less than a single generation, and without the dreaded time dilation. Re-entering the material plane in view of a habitable world, an Edenic paradise beyond even their wildest dreams. Now, through telepathic transmissions from the Pneuma, the crew realized it had taken them to the home, to the only material intelligence previously able to commune with it, the Protean, a lone wanderer in search of God. It knew others would eventually follow, and desired to place both a beacon and enlightenment within access to these fellow travelers. So here on this perfect world, soon to be known as Edo, within the depths of its tallest mountain, it constructed a great hall, a holy library, a radiant sanctum containing every secret of creation it had yet uncovered, written in a language only decipherable to those sufficiently evolved and known simply as the lexicon. The Protean's summation of truth universal, utilizing the sacred lexicon, was recorded along the vast hollow interior of the mountain sanctuary, thus forming the great work known as the Lux Vulgata. This document, Gospel of the Protean Wanderer, intended the worthy acolyte to enrich its text with further discovery, to become fellow wanderers capable of eventually exceeding its own accomplishments, with the ultimate aim of meeting the creators of our material universe and all it contains. But as the Pneuma was required to evolve in order to facilitate this current step, humanity too needed to evolve to ascend in order to fulfill the mission bequeathed unto it. It just so happened that the Lux Vulgata provided the means.
I'll take up the last part because I can build on that. This is literally the last little thing. You guys did all my dirty work for me.
You're welcome.
Send me that dirty work because I don't have it.
Oh no, you didn't come for you? Are you on your phone or are you on a laptop?
I'm on a laptop that I rolled a fumble, so I had to.
I'll resend it here in a second. So the living gods, voices of the creator. So prior to their return, the expeditionary crew took the next step, climbing the evolutionary ladder as described in the Lux Vulgata. Their ascent transformed them both mentally and physically, opening their minds to increased possibilities. They learned that some amongst them took to the process with greater ease than others, that they had an inherent propensity for speaking with the Pneuma, a latent talent that seemed to attract the Pneuma to them, to congeal it in their minds and mutate, and having it mutate just in the similar way to that evolved nanotech that you can make into anything you want, into forms or even alterations of reality, intended to fulfill or its best interpretation of whatever it believed its human hosts' desires were. These humans gifted with this latency, later dubbed the potential, made the ascent with seemingly minimal effort. They changed to such a degree, enhanced of mental acuity, perceptual awareness, and even physical well-being, becoming effectively immortal and immune to most diseases, that they saw fit to adopt the term sorry, can't read my own writing. They saw fit to adopt the term the lexicon reserved for occupants of this evolutionary stage, the Ulta. And that's kind of so basically where you guys come in. So in this, so what we have is a situation where Earth was basically it's like 5 years from now as the environment goes complete crap. Basically, the thing that all the various attempts at peace and whatever couldn't stop before, is finally like the writing was on the wall, and in a desperate bid they were like, well, this planet's going to hell, so we need to get something. And it was really just kind of like a almost like a message in a bottle, and at least I knew if they saw some generation shift, some people would be out there, so the human race wouldn't completely die. No one truly believed that there would be anything happening, so they were very shocked when they returned. The very first expedition returned in very, very short order, and they were evolved. They looked different. They were taller. They were their skin tones were, more unnatural,
Short order
better.
being 300 years later, correct?
Oh yeah, because if you think about it, it would be, I mean, they call those generational ships because it's like way more, like 300 years for a round trip is like nothing.
I mean, I get it.
Right.
I'm just reiterating for our
No, for
viewer
your
audience here.
audience. Anyway, so they came back saying that they had basically saw that they saw a couple of things, that they saw a path towards the type of enlightenment in the evolutionary steps, the exogenous evolutionary phase that would like save humanity, and that involved like basically combining through the science that they learned from merging with this interdimensional being that they could normally never interact with. And it still doesn't like fully understand us. We don't understand each other yet. That's why they use the potents, the people that can kind of communicate with them and have it, bend to their will or whatever. But they learned that, to these expeditionary forces that return, they're basically saying that we've found proof of God, but God is science, and it's kind of like now all the different various things of the world that should not normally go together are now merged, and everybody should be happy now, right? And I think just in the Earth's desperation, knowing the writing was on the wall, surely that was not completely peaceful, but there was a grand exodus to get away from this and to follow this expeditionary force to this Edo, which ended up becoming the galactic core of the benevolent imperium of man that grew up out over the next 40,000 years of existence, bringing us to a relatively current state where, you've got evolved man with not a lot of, you've got a galaxy that's set up, and we're going to roll in a moment. We'll roll where your home world is, where you came from. And that's going to determine kind of like where everyone's coming from, different walks of life in the galaxy, that you're all brought together under a common cause. So I'll read this one thing that's underneath it, which I'll kind of explain. So these Ulta, which are these, well, I'm just gonna read it. So the premise behind the characters and party, I'm not sure if it's on the same document I just sent to you. I think it is.
It is.
So the PCs are all latent potents. Basically, you're humans of the natural inclination to be able to commune with the Eret Sinu that's now become, there's a new entity that never existed before. The Eret Sinu, which is like this completely fourth dimensional thing that has no physical form. That's before it was not aware of us, and we weren't aware of it. But it suddenly became aware of us when our little fermites, or little like subatomic nanobots, happen to pass through it, because they're like, hey, I can see you, you can see me, we should become one creature. That would be pretty cool, right? And they made one creature. So that's where the pneuma is the offspring, the joining of the fermites, like it's like little cybernetic organisms, because like their physical forms are mostly these little microscopic nanobots, but they have the enhanced minds of this fourth dimensional being. And they basically started communicating with humans and like, hey, we've seen someone like you before, and it was this protean, and he brought us to this world, you should probably go check that out. And that's kind of how that happened. And that's where they found the protean, the message they left behind, which is like the path to a god, which has to be taken through ascent, through evolution. So they come back that message to man, got all of humanity that wanted to leave Earth. Who knows what happens to the ones that were left behind, to basically go to the system where Edo is, which through the jump gates, or through the breach gates. So they don't even know exactly where, how far in the universe, at least not initially, how far away that is. I mean, Earth could basically be lost. Anyway, so once there, for the most part, things evolved in a pretty in a pretty altruistic way where a new imperium of man kind of formed that was like relatively benevolent, and it was based on several branches of government. Not I'm not going to get all Phantom Menace on you and give you like trade stuff, but just know that there's like kind of two arms. There's this imperial benevolence, and it's basically a combination of a secular emperor or imperatrix. In this case it's the empress, who basically represents the standard human interest, the atavistic humans, the ones who have not made the jump to become Ulta, that have not evolved. And then of course you have the kind of church benevolent, which is the science-based church, which is like basically there to figure out the next steps for humanity based on the will in the readings of the Lux Vulgata. And it's all these evolved things, which if you didn't see it already, you can almost think of it this way. And it's not a big spoiler, I don't think, because your characters wouldn't know that, and you guys are probably smart enough to figure this out at some point. But basically this is how we get the other species. All the species in the native genesis of this campaign, they kind of exist, but they're done in different forms. So the Ulta are basically the elves of this world, are basically evolved humans. That's kind of where that is. And they come in different flavors and different strengths. There's, which we can worry about later. Not important to now. And I know you won't be tested on any of this either, or will you? But anyway, so yeah. And then of course you might have presumed that those who interact with the Pneuma, they can bend it to their will. Well, the Pneuma is kind of like, I guess, you could call it mana to some degree, or I think it's funnier to call it midichlorians, but
maybe. That was my thought.
But it's like good midichlorians, all right. Actually, I love midichlorians now. Anyway,
all right, let's not go on that tangent. All right, stay on target. Stay on target.
So there's a weird thing. There's a weird kind of like symbiotic-ish relationship that's evolved between the Ulta, which is still a relatively small part of the population, and then the secular humanity that's like the atavistic humanity, the ones that stay behind. It's not even necessarily that you have to be potent to evolve. This is easier for them. It's that the Protean didn't have all the answers and knows there's some problems and is dangerous. According to the Ulta, what they learned is it's dangerous for everyone to take the evolutionary jump without before knowing what it is. So they see that there has some inherent problems involved with it, and they are posing themselves as martyrs, kind of like, even though they've got these great benefits, they're like, hey, we're immortal and we're awesome and all these cool things, but you know what? We're actually taking a bullet for you guys because we don't know what we're doing to ourselves. We're like kind of experimental stock. So because that, we don't want to, we're going to be the animal testing phase of this evolution. And you guys can just, we'll just benevolently rule you in relation with your empress. But the idea is that they noticed early on as they would going up, they required more and more pneuma to keep the balls in the air, so to speak, to kind of keep evolving. It became almost like an addiction or just like a necessity of life. But the ironic twist was their ability to influence the pneuma lessened the more powerful and more evolved they got. And it was eventually figured out the reason why. It was because of this loss of humanity. And so that's why I'll read this thing. So that's where you guys come in. So the premise behind the characters and party. So the PCs are latent potents. Basically, though vastly different backgrounds and social classes, they share this inherent gift, the ability to understand, at least partially, and to be understood by the pneuma, thus allowing it to bend reality to their mortal whims. This is a great and rare power. It cannot be taught. It must be your birthright. Thus, all citizens of the Imperium are tested upon the reaching of adulthood, of pubescence. They come to the Imperial Office of Assessment, either local or in the neighboring systems. They are given assessment. There are even assessment frigates sent from the core to remote outposts in search of potents, thus proving their vital importance to the Imperial benevolence. All potents are a precious commodity. The tests are administered by the Sisterhood of the Oracular Eye, known as the Ix Vorla. One needn't register with the Vorla, All children are found, always, inevitably. Those who run, intending to hide from their destinies, only make it harder on themselves. So it's not all, puppies and roses and candy bars. All potents are entered into the exclusive ranks of the benevolent mission to the imperial government. It's one of the rare kind of cross-departmental concerns between the secular government and the science-based mission to evolve us to whatever. And that in this kind of concern is called the Seraphim Zenithal, based on we'll worry about it. So they are so basically everyone, when they turn a certain age, they are tested, and if they turn out to have a potential, they are sorted into specific disciplinary ranks based on their natural proclivities within their pneumatic areas of influence. This is how their specific latencies are brought to the fore, which was actually how we represent the luck roll in the birth augur. That is going to be about where are you most influential in your ability to take this thing, this pneuma that can basically replicate almost any condition. It is essentially magic, like we talked about. How does it manifest? Are you more inclined to be able to influence the thoughts of people, or move objects, or whatever? It's basic, psychic, psi world stuff, or magic. They're going to kind of end up being one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, the PCs are all potent, sorted and assigned to the muster under the Seraphim Bureau of Foreign Survey. So even though your disciplines might be different, you're all assigned to the same department for a reason that you're not privy to. The pneuma is excited by the prospect of your desires. Humans possess something called the passions. It drives them to greatness and horror. It's this very spark, this inherent humanity, or the mortal soul, whatever you want to call it, that engages the pneuma on a powerful level, motivating it to leave a mark on the material universe. Remember, it's this material world is like something it does not even, it's like, oh, this is this new thing. It's shiny, and it likes the fact that humans are passionate about it, because it's like, oh, that's a thing that we don't have. We're boring on our fourth dimension. But ironically, this very spark is the primary thing increasingly lost as one ascends the ladder of the Ulta. As the Ulta grow in power, they need greater accumulations of the pneuma. Yet the pneuma begins to resist their call. It craves the pure form of the passions produced by their potent hosts. So the Ulta must ensure that until this problem is addressed, there remains a constant supply of pre-Ulta potions. My autocorrect screwed that up. For they can imbue the pneuma with it lingering passion, lasting just long enough to be passed to them, to the Ulta, and utilized before the moment passes. The Ulta call this the purification of the pneuma. So it's, they say that, hey, we are putting ourselves at risk, but we have to see, we're gonna we are at risk. Without you, we will die, and all these terrible things. But we're also doing this for the betterment of humanity, because there is an answer. So it's kind of this weird, assumedly symbiotic relationship within the Imperium, or within the benevolence, which is the religious arm of the Imperium, where if you can do, that's kind of like your version of being drawn up to the muster for the army, is like, if you happen to be potent, you go serve your Imperium in such a manner. It doesn't matter if you are from the noble houses, or you're from the lowliest ranks of a mining outpost in the middle of nowhere. They'll find you and they put you to work, and they treat you really nice, but still, it's not the type of nice that you can refuse typically.
Well, Clay, I'm feeling very potent right now, and I think I'm ready to roll up a character.
Oh,
so
that's good, because we're at that point. So
cool.
basically,
Wonderful.
so just talk a little DCC-ish right here. So first things first. So this is that I kind of described to you guys last time, the idea of this half funnel, which is just stupid name I have for it, which is because, okay, so potents are given a little, they're given the first one free, a little taste, just the tip of of ascension. And what that does, just because it's they're an investment, potents, they're going to keep them at a certain level where they're still able to do the thing, but if they invest a lot of time and energy into them in their education and their training, keeping the passions up, they don't want them to die too early. So you you do have some gifts that come with it, and they do change some of the way you generate your character. Because those characters are slightly more powerful based on these gifts, both the ones that come from the birth augur and as the ones that are native to having the little taste of evolution. You're only going to have 2 characters instead of the 4, and you will only have one active at any point. Because here's the thing, they have so doubled down on their investment in you that your second character is a clone.
What?
Yeah, I told you about this last time, but you don't remember. It's okay.
It's been 2 weeks.
I know. There's a lot of stuff. Anyway, so you generate. I like the idea of the funnel process, but not having to manage all those characters. So you're going to have, there's a way that in most situations, your clone is pretty close on the ready line nearby. Now, the interesting thing about the clones are sometimes they are genetically perfect, and you won't know until you actually have to use it. Sometimes they're genetically perfect and it's a 1-to-1. You just use the same character sheet. And sometimes when you find out when you pull them out of cold storage, they might be different. They still have your memories and your mind, maps and all that stuff, but suddenly certain things might change. And again, you won't know until that happens. So, it might adjust the way you think you're going to deal with something if you happen to die and come back. But yeah, so statistically, so first up, we just roll our ability scores as per normal. That doesn't change at all. So stage 1 of our now I will say, because these are characters that are more of this more exclusive stock. I would say that we probably the 3, 6 in order, you can do that, but I think I kind of like the idea of using the Lankmar rules for that, in which I believe is 3d6, and you can swap 2 of them. I think that the good compromise, so it's not straight up easy street, but still reflects this this change up, is I think we're going to go with the dreaded, don't punch me for saying this, 46 drop the lowest, but only be able to rearrange. You have to do it in order, but you can rearrange 2 of the stats.
Okay.
And in fact, actually, right. Take that back. I had a better idea than that.
No,
we're going to do 46, drop the lowest. And I can explain that if that's unclear to anybody what I mean by that. And then do it in order. Now, what's going to happen is when we roll your birth augur, which is going to probably tie to some degree to one of your stats, if it ties to it's supposed to be what you're good at. So if it ties to a stat that's lower, you are able to swap that with another one at that point. Does that make sense? So basically, it's going to be 46 drop the lowest. You're going to have higher scores in general, but they're still going to be in order, But the difference is if you roll your birth augur and it conflicts with that being your lowest, one of your lower stats, you will have the option of then rearranging that one and swapping it with something else. Keep in mind too that it's the way I like to do the luck rolls in a birth augur. I'm not a big fan of the ones where you don't get to use it at all. So even if you end up rolling, if you zero out on your luck, I don't think you guys, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what everybody gets there, but everyone's going to probably get a modifier. If you would normally get a 0 adjustment to your luck, you might end up with a +1 or a -1, depending on which way the wind blows. But very few people are going to have a straight up 0 adjustment to their lucky roll.
I gotta grab another D6. I brought 3 out for this.
I'm
You're used to the
those beautiful DCC dice right there.
I know they're great. Beautiful. But yeah, so if
you're gonna have to tell me all of that again, but it's gonna be great.
No problem. So basically, you can
just I'm gonna just roll them and then we'll do it.
six sets of those or 6, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
All right. 11 strength.
Okay. All right.
Drop the lowest.
And then add up that total and do the next one. Now, okay, I'll wait till you get them all rolled, then I'll tell you the ones that you can automatically change. There are 2. There's one other situation where you can change things that I didn't bring up.
How many times do I do this?
So 6, right? There's 6 stats.
6 stats. Yeah.
So you would be doing it in a traditional order of strength, agility before stamina, or stamina
Agility,
before agility?
agility,
Yeah.
stamina,
Strength, agility,
Stamina,
stamina.
intelligence,
intelligence,
perception, and then
We're missing a
intelligence,
P.
personality,
personality,
and
Yeah.
luck.
and then luck.
Intelligence, then luck. Yeah.
Personality, intelligence, luck. Wait,
Oh,
hold on.
is it personality? I thought it was intelligence, personality, then luck.
Strength, agility, stamina, personality, intelligence, luck.
Oh, really? Luck is intelligence?
That's what's
luck?
on my little Goodman
Oh,
game
interesting. All right.
downloadable character sheet that
No,
I
I mean
got.
that makes sense. I don't know why I always had that backwards.
Oh,
I'm so used to
man.
like personality. I'm always used to thinking about personality as a replacement for charisma for some reason. I guess it kind of makes sense that it would be, but
Wow. That's a big number.
yeah. Geez, look at that.
Wow. What the? I'm rolling well right now, and I don't trust
I'm
myself.
rolling pretty well too. My strength was pretty low, but everything else is
Yeah, my
getting
strength
pretty good.
is low.
That's
Oh, that one was.
There we go. That's a bad roll.
Now, because you are see, I'll explain it in a minute. I'll wait till you guys are done.
Why don't you wait?
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
We're getting there.
All right.
Oh, nice. Okay, I got my straight up stat line.
Okay, so
Here it is. Play.
you can nice. You can either wait to decide in a moment to see what your birth augur leads to, but actually the way I think I wrote it up now, the one that the temporary form of it I have to use because the finished form is not, the final form is not fully developed yet. More so your abilities or your ability to kind of influence the Numa as a non like wizard, because you're not a wizard, you're just like a 0 level person, right? Who happens to have some psychic connection to this entity and can influence it like a patron bond, I suppose, of some sort. You're going to do that's going to be influenced either by your intelligence or your personality. You can right now I have it, and you'll later on it'll make a difference. Right now, and you wouldn't know why. And it's good that you don't know why, because you're gonna have to discover things on purpose. So you might be making a fateful decision and not realizing why it matters. But as of currently, you can pick either your intelligence or your personality to be the kind of the master of your what you use as your kind of like your casting ability. That said, if neither of those are one of your higher scores, that's when you can definitely swap whichever one you pick. If it's one that you should pick the higher of the two to start with, and if that's still significantly lower, even if the higher of that two is still significantly lower than comparison to other scores, you can swap out and make that a higher one, or you should probably. But yeah, instead of picking intelligence or personality to be your driver for your influence, you should just take the one that's higher naturally. And then of the two that are higher, of the one that's higher, if it's still not high in comparison to your other stuff, of course, being higher than it's a compatriot there, but like otherwise, if it's still not as high, you can then swap one. Let's make that the swapping. We'll stop that there. We won't mess with the birth augur swapping.
I'm not swapping anything.
Look at you.
I'm going right down the line like a good boy.
Now, remember, you guys, the reason why we do this is because you guys were selected for your latent power, your latent abilities with this. So does anyone have is anyone's highest of the either personality or intelligence still give you a negative modifier?
Negative for me.
Negative for you?
I mean, negative is a no.
Oh,
everything's high. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have a negative modifier.
Okay,
Most
good,
I've got to
good.
0.
That's the thing I think we want to try to avoid, because I haven't come up with a good I don't have a good kind of fix for that yet. So
I don't know how to set the modifiers. I'm sorry.
okay, so basically,
I'm real simple. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. I will. So basically, there's a universal ability score chart that that your modifiers. So basically, if you're any score of below 9 is going to have a negative modifier associated to it. Then between
Right.
9 to 12, it's like no modifier. And then it gradually goes up based on what your score is after that to a maximum of +3. So basically 13, 14, and 15 are +1. 16 and 17 are a +2, and then 18 is a +3.
Right.
But if you have anything lower than that, I can kind of give you the.
Yes, I have. Yes. My personality and intelligence both are 0.
Okay. Do you have any other score?
Or negative. Actually, one is negative.
Wow. Okay. Do you have any which one's the higher of those two?
Intelligence.
Intelligence. Okay. So with that intelligence, is there any other attribute that you have on your pile of attributes?
Yeah. Yeah, I have one that's higher significantly.
Okay. So you can
I should switch those.
You can swap those. You don't have to. I would recommend it, but you certainly don't have to. Actually, it doesn't. Yeah, you don't actually have to at all because something you won't be privy to until you discover it as a character. It could be perfectly fine. Like in the existent world, if there were no other things unexpected that were to happen in this game, then yeah, you definitely want to swap it. But because of some things that you won't be privy to until later, you could also leave it the same. It's up to you. But basically, one of whichever one ends up being your highest of those two will be the one you want to kind of circle it or put a little note next to it that's going to be your that will be your kind of like your motivating that's what you influence in the now. This could also change one more time when the birth augurs are rolled, because it could in theory increase certain things. It could have an effective increase on your ability score. Probably not, but it might.
Well, let's see.
Yes, exactly. So
what if you have a sum negative? The sum is negative.
The sum of
my bonuses and penalties.
Oh no, you don't want to. You don't want to sum. Wait, I'm so confused. You mean you're adding all your bonuses and penalties together?
Yeah, like the whole concept of I don't know if that applies to your world. Like if you roll up a character that the sum of the modifiers is negative, that you scrap that character.
Oh yeah, no, we don't normally do that.
Okay.
How bad did you come out?
That's old school.
I got
mine are bad.
-1 strength, -1 personality, +1 intelligence. That's it.
Well, the good thing is if and when a character dies, that clone is going to likely have differential scores. So you might gain something or potentially lose it if it's malformed or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, my modifiers even out to 0. So
okay.
We're in this together.
Yeah. Well, let's just see how it goes. You never know what happens. We'll see what happens next when we start doing our birth augurs. Now, this I'm going to have to do with you individually and walk you through it. I'll go to each person and have you roll, because I have a very crummy version of the chart that is not really interpretable otherwise. So it'll have to be kind of me interpreting it. So now on this one, so everyone, you're going to treat it just like the normal birth augur roll, where you would roll, in this case, I believe it's a D30, correct?
It is.
Okay.
A D30.
You roll a D30. And your result, I will have to cross-reference to make this work. This is part of the stuff I was hoping I'd have ready for tonight, but I can do it. I have the material. I just have to dig in on it. So anyone want to go first? You want me to just call in somebody?
I'll go.
Cool. So you can either roll a digital D30 or whatever you want to do.
That's all I got. It's a digital D30. So die.
Or a D10 with a D6 modifier die. But
yeah, what's that? There is that.
I also don't have that.
There says something in the book about how being able to do. Yeah, the digital ones. It's usually pretty good. Though those dice are not rolling good for you guys, huh?
No,
Digital
this
dice.
stuff is rolling really bad. I got a 2.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. I mean, because
I
this is not
mean,
actually something
this is
that.
not necessarily that, but yeah, but
Yeah.
that's kind of
So
my
the
jam,
birth
guys.
augur, this roll is not this the level of the score does not make a difference. Okay. So if this is regular DCC, you would have an increase. Your luck score would increase your melee attack rolls. Do you have a luck bonus, first of all?
No,
Is this straight up 0? Okay, that's fine.
it's 0.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work. So because I don't like the idea of anyone having nothing there, we do a yin yang. So, a lot of things I like to do with my rule adjustments are yin yangs. We're like, yeah, I'm going to give you a bonus to something, and you can choose either +1 or +2 for your bonus, but
You gotta suck at something.
you're gonna have
I
to
suck
pay
at
for
a
this
lot
tomorrow.
of things,
So
you
if you
guys.
don't normally have if you have a luck bonus to begin with, you can just ride that lightning and you're good. You don't have to worry about it. You can roll that. If you don't, you can choose to give yourself a +1 or up to a +2 if you take a -1 or a -2 in another case. That doesn't mean it does not change your ability score. It just means whatever the relevant skill says. Like if you get a bonus to your melee attacks, you might have a minus to your missile attacks or something like that. The thing that's kind of fun about it is you're not going to know what the minus is in until after you get the positive, unless you assign the positive. But let me first of all, let's just figure out exactly what you're good at and what your latency is. So this table has been renamed in our world the latent manifestation of the potential, and it's what you are assessed with when you turned of the age of the pubescent age or whatever. Okay, so you said you got a 2. I have that as okay, so that is you are going to have and I'll have to go over exactly how this manifests, but you have the ability, your latency with the potential is that you seem from basically from childhood, you've been able to influence a little bit of pull on the physical world. It's a form of like very kind of like loose psychokinesis. You can move objects with your mind. And that can manifest in a couple different ways. Now, when you use this to do different things, it's going to be done where you will be rolling. You'll roll a die and you'll add a relevant ability score modifier and your luck modifier if it exists, which in this case naturally it doesn't. You could choose to have it. So in this case it would be the higher of your 2, which still is 0, right?
Still 0.
So you'd have zeros across the paint right now.
Across those modifiers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what is your actually no, hang on a minute. That's not true. What is your I got this wrong. So what is your strength? What is your strength? Do you have a strength bonus?
I think it's negative.
It's negative.
Yeah, it's a 7. So
okay.
that's negative 1
right now. All right. So we'll just say right now your ability to use the psychokinetic stuff is this going to be your standard. It's just going to be basically a natural roll of the appropriate die, which we'll get to later, and just your natural addendum you add for being a potent. You won't have any other bonus on top of that you might normally have, but you can change that though. You just would have to take something else would have a commiserate suckage to it. So if you like this idea of having the ability to
just a straight roll, essentially,
to have it be better than just a straight roll with a potential other just like the same modifier everyone gets if they have an ability. If you want that to be higher, you can do it, and then we can find out what you're equally bad at.
Yeah, let's add something to it. Why not? Because I'm
Okay.
Really bad at lots of things. So
So do you want to
see what else?
do you want to go
Really
one or
bad at.
two? Do you want to how much do you want to push your luck?
Oh, there's just one. It's fine, I guess.
Okay. So now what it's going to do is, because you only have one manifestation of your so just hold on to that. We're going to come back to that. See, we have you
Okay.
as psychokinetically inclined at a +1.
Great.
So let's put that on
Love it.
put that in on the side and let it go, because it's gonna be how that's gonna have the yin yang will come out later on without having.
Okay.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Okay. Let me know what you end up with.
All right. D30. Here we go. 16.
16. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So normally this is magical healing and survive the plague.
Oh,
Crossing that over, do you what is your higher of your two personality or intelligence attributes?
my personality is 17.
Nice. Okay, well that's
Yeah.
make this very easy then. So you are gonna have a form of which will give you a specific manifestation later, psychometabolism,
Ooh.
which is the ability to influence potentially either your specific and your specific body's response, including accelerating healing, or potentially that of others.
Ooh.
Usually where that's going to be something that where you'll probably end up with one over the other, which you might be able to pick it. We'll see if we get to that. But whereas like if you can increase your you're gonna you can do both, but one will be at a detriment than the other. Not in you can um increase it even further by adding a point, or but just knowing that the other one, like if you, for instance, if what do you have, like a bonus of +1 +2, is that what it is, +2 or +1?
It's +2 if it's 17.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you have a +2 um on that roll, on any roll to accomplish that. So it's kind of like almost like a spell check, but without a spell burn. You have the +2, then you can depending on what you're trying to do with it, would be kind of leaning into your specific. So you might be like, if you are better at working on yourself, then you might have a worse chance. You might have a commensurate problem trying to do it to other people. You could hurt someone on accident, or vice versa.
Okay.
But I'll explain that later. All right. Who's next?
I'll go,
All right.
but I'm gonna let Cersei roll for me. Actually,
Yeah.
hey, look up here.
Ha.
Oh. All right, I gotta go. I gotta go pick it up.
That's what you get.
She rolled a 9.
All right.
And I have a luck modifier, if that matters.
Luck score. You need a luck modifier in your lucky score roll.
That's a good bit. You'll need to take that on the road.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So do I add +1 to that roll and make it a 10?
No. You don't add your luck modifier to your lucky roll.
Oh.
You add it. It just tells you which one is going to be what you get the bonus in. Do you do that? You don't. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to.
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't do that crap. Come on, man.
I thought you just said it earlier. That's what I'm asking.
No, that's
okay.
not.
He's helping me fix my luck because my luck is garbage. That's what
I
we're talking about.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So you had a 9. Okay.
Well, Cersei got a 9, but yeah.
So this manifests as what I have written down in the unelegant terms as mental blast. It is a basically a headache or damage inducing effect in another person.
Mental blast.
Yeah, well, I'll give you more details later. But yeah, it's basically depending on the potency of the person you're using it against, if any, it'll have either a more of a painful effect or a damaging effect. And that's something that we'll explain later. But yeah, it's kind of like a side blast or whatever you want to call it. But I wrote it down as mental blast. So when I was rushing to get it done today.
All right. I'm a mental blast the crap out of people.
Yeah, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you, but you're slamming them with your mouth.
That's right.
Okay. Who we got? All right.
Yeah, Rocky.
Let's do it.
That is a 7.
Okay. All right. I want to try a spread of this. Can I make you my sacrificial lamb to re-roll?
Sure.
I didn't write out a good spread on these numbers yet. I didn't figure out a good distribution. My distribution kind of sucks on the numbers. I don't want to get too many things that are the same. So
13.
Live on Twitch.
Shut your mouth.
Fudging the dice.
Well, it's not like there's none are better than the other. I'm just looking for something that's different. And I would have had a more nuanced chart if I hadn't run afoul of my computer today. So
yeah.
Did you give me
I'm going to keep a running list of 13? All the excuses for
you did say 13. You need to come over there.
Bring it.
Okay. All right, so that's okay, interesting. Okay. That is there we go. Trying to pick the closest cross-reference that I have here. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that is a a natural empath, meaning that it could manifest in one of several ways, which again we'll determine later. It's either going to manifest as you picking up signals from other people, or you being able to influence, not charm so much as to change the demeanor or to influence the demeanor of other people. It could go one of two ways. And that is and again, it's none of these are determined are naturally attached to either personality or intelligence. It usually goes to your higher one. It's later on that's going to have consequences that you won't have any way of knowing until it happens. Though you might be able to guess based on some of the things we've talked about previously. But yeah, does that make sense what you got so far? So you got and do you have a luck bonus right now?
Nope.
Do you want to tempt the fates and give yourself, it wouldn't change your luck score or your general luck bonus. Is it basically in this one particular case, when you are using your empathic skills, you could give yourself a bonus, but it's going to manifest as something else, either in that another power in that same access zone that you have control over, or just something that's not even a power. Something else random is going to be like a specific case at a negative, like possibly something off the original, like the original birth chart. Say what?
Let's dig it deeper.
Do you want to go 1 or 2?
Let's go 2.
Okay, cool. So just make a note of that, and we'll circle back to the consequences of that later. In fact, maybe I won't even tell you, and when it comes up circumstantially, you'll find out then.
Oh, my head explodes.
Okay, was that everybody? Did I miss somebody?
I think that's all of us, unless you want to count the cat.
Cat, right. What do you got?
Well, Cat rolled a 9, so
it was true. Thorin, you got to roll.
So I don't know about Thorin.
No. The cat rolled for me. It's all good.
So now it comes a little bit of this. So right now we've got your basic attributes and what your weird latency is. because that can happen anywhere. That's independent of your home world or your birthright, your social class. It crosses all boundaries. From now on, everything else we do, which is not that many. We have a couple other things we wanted to talk about. We have your home world, which is going to also influence your birthright, which has to do with your social class and your standing, because it is influenced by where you are in the Imperium, because you're probably not going to be like in the outer belt mining consortiums and be like a noble lord or something.
Question.
Yeah.
On this PDF you sent, I see toxic reactivity. Roll 1d6. So
I didn't go over the.
My toxic reactivity is alcohol. So what does that mean?
Well, hang on. We didn't do that yet. I forgot about doing that. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
Before we move
also
on to
hit
that,
points, but
yes. Okay. Good call, guys. Thank you. So here's the thing. You have for your hit points, unlike your normal fun 1d4 plus your stamina modifier characters, your hit points are going to be a factor of, you can do it one of two ways. You could roll a d4 and multiply it by 2 as your starting hit points, or you can just do 2d4 and add them up. That's your call how you want to tempt the fates there. And in either case, you still add your stamina modifier.
Okay.
Potentially.
Oh, I forgot about doing that.
All right. 2d4, here I come. 2, 1.
And obviously you have to predetermine how you want to read that before you do it, but you knew
that. 2 and 4.
I have 8 hit points, and I am 37 years old.
I have 5 hit points.
I have 6 hit points.
That's not bad. You say 3?
Yep.
Oh, dang it.
Oh,
do you have a negative stamina, or you just roll really badly?
I just roll really badly.
3.
Poor little guy. Well, maybe your clone will be stronger. We might find out sooner than later. So what that? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing.
So we'll start with the hit points. I'll go one step at a time. So here's the thing. So what's going to happen is, right now at the beginning of the campaign, as far as your character is concerned, there's only one life path. You would be progressing after the funnel as a seraph, part of the organization of potence that you're in. You would start as basically, and that would be you ever increasing your latent potential, and possibly maybe adding some more to it. But what's going, and I'm just going to give you a preview without giving you too much information, that situation is going to change pretty much at the beginning of the campaign, where when you will be exposed to things that you never knew existed, and you will have the option upon hitting first level to continue with the original plan of always just staying a seraph, and basically just adding your level, for example, to your whatever was determined by your birth augur, and getting some other abilities, or other classes will present themselves to you.
Can you provide us with a dictionary from the Imperium, please?
Sure.
On the next session. Yeah.
Got it.
Vocabulary.
You're a lexicon of the lexicon.
Remember potent. You're a potent.
Potent. I am very potent, and I can also be a seraph.
That's just the organization.
I got a mental blast, and apparently a toxic reactivity of alcohol.
Well, hang out on that one. Let's just go one at a time through those. So you got your hit points. Now, basically, the thing is, from here on out, whenever you advance, your class will take over your hit point type. Just like normal. You would keep your hit point maximum that you gain now, just like a normal run-of-the-mill character. That's over the funnel. And then, like, if you continue in the seraph class, I will show you later on exactly how, what, I think it's a D8, and then other things, you'll see the skills and whatever. But that's not a decision you have to make today, because you're not going to get to first level today. But you will, I'm just telling you as players, just so you can, wrap your head around it, that you're going to have other options. You just won't have access to them until they show up. You don't have to just follow that one life path. It just seems that way at first, because you were basically drafted in this thing. That's what you have. Anyway, so yeah, you will add whatever eventual hit points you get to your maximum. So we did the birth augur, which we will fine tune later. Now you have like a set of standardized things as these kind of humans, that were given just the first one is free kind of taste of ascendancy through a special, formula that developed through the lexicon or the Lux Vulgata. Anyway, so first your aging ceases to be noticeable or effective to your health at a certain age, which doesn't really have any mechanical effects. It's just for your character, and that age is determined by rolling 3d6 and adding it to 20 to see when you kind of how old you are and or how old you at least got to before your whatever kicked in. Also, this could in theory influence how you ended up where you are, because if you think about it, it's like, usually you're being drafted pretty young, so who knows, we'll see what happens here. So you guys can just do those rolls on your own, and just record that.
37.
And it also might be a thing where you're not that age yet, but that is because of your genetic profile, that roughly at that age you will stop showing. So we'll see how that manifests later, but
I'm already there, baby.
Who got a what's the lowest one anybody got? I guess you can't really get that low.
Age? Lowest age?
Yeah.
Lowest age you could be is 23, right?
Yeah. I should probably made that 20 lower, but that's okay. I should have made it something like 46 plus 10, I think is what it should have been.
4 to 87.
In fact, just for my own sanity now, let's just change that. Just while we're here, just make it 46, add it together and add 10 instead.
4d6?
The 3d6 plus 20, let's make it 46 plus 10.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'm sticking
with us figuring it out on the fly.
I already rolled my age, but I'll do it again.
It's okay. You don't have.
Okay, I'm 30. I'm 37. No.
37.
29.
And that might end up being, and I'll tell you at the beginning of the campaign, that might end up being just the age that that you'll stop accruing. But it might not be your present age. Well, that was something that is going to be revealed to you by the circumstances later. Possibly influenced by your following roles, because everything feeds off of everything else. So you because you've got a little bit of the Ulta in you, or the fake elf in you, you're not immune to conditions. First of all, you are immune to, your body has been dosed up with fermetic the same thing that keeps you from aging is keeping you from getting sick from natural illnesses and disease. So you are immune to naturally occurring illnesses and diseases, but there are known genetically engineered conditions that will screw with you, just like anybody else, but they're designed by bad people to get around that type of stuff.
Good plot hook.
So yes, you are immune to natural. So you're kind of, you're got a little bit of that elf-like quality there, but you also have a slightly denuded version of the other elf-like thing, where it's a resistance to pneumatically induced or magical conditions. So if anybody tries to pneumatically or magically put you to sleep, charm, or paralyze you, you're going to have a bonus to resist that. You don't automatically get to discount it the way you would if you were an elf in standard DCC, though you do gain the charm one, which you don't have charm as a resistance in DCC. It's just sleep and paralysis. But the trade, so basically you would start with whatever the requisite save, which is usually going to be probably either a will or a stamina save. You would, depending on the situation, you would add whatever the relevant modifier is on top of what you would normally add to that based on your saving throw, and that would be it's +1 every 2 levels, but it begins at level 0. So at level 0, in addition to whatever other save bonus you have for those conditions, you would also add an additional +1, regardless of your ability scores. And then again at level 2, you would do it again. Then at level 4, level 6, and so on and so forth until you die. But you won't die because you're immune to dying. Well, unless injury. Okay, but in turn, though, there's a weird little defects or unexpected side effects that come with, the fact that, even the Protean was homebrewing their adaptation of the pneumatic forces. So they were having to create their own guidebook. So sometimes things happen. And so there is a toxic reactivity. Sometimes it is cold iron, but not always. So, and I think you did it already with Thorin, but you roll a D6, and let's just do it naturally. I hadn't work out the range well enough I think later on I'll have it worked out where the range actually will be more indicative of using your luck to help it. I don't think that the current pattern really is gonna be that's not gonna be beneficial to you to use your luck as a modifier here. I would just roll a straight D6, and you see that if you so basically if you roll a 1, that means that you would have a toxic reactivity to having contact with someone else's blood. That's not potent. Just like muggle blood. If you had
gross
muggle blood, yeah, a 2 or 3 is going to be your kind of bog standard fairy cold iron. You touch the iron, bad things happen. And by the way, this one, just to let you know, it's worse in this world than it is in bog standard DCC. I'll explain.
Worse.
Like you get double damage from things that naturally cause damage, give you double damage. So obviously blood hitting you doesn't normally cause damage, but a blood on a blade, if someone knew that was your weakness and covered a blade with atavistic blood, well, that would do double damage. So 4 to 5 alcohol, and I think that's what you said you had, Thorn.
Yeah.
So you're fun at parties.
Yeah.
And
very sober.
The weirdest one.
There are bound to be other there's bound to be space drugs. Come on. It's the future.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
First one's always we have these toxic reactivities.
Yes, you would have figured it out.
I got a big rash when I took a swig of alcohol.
Did anyone get a 6? Because that's a fun one.
I did. Yeah, nuts. I hadn't rolled
so
yet.
Basically, anytime you're in a situation that that seems fair to assume that it kind of like what you would normally be like, if you were making like a morale check, obviously don't make morale checks as a PC, but the type of situations that would trigger an NPC that kind of roll, or maybe a sanity check in, if we were playing Call of Cthulhu, you would make an appropriate will save. And if you failed that will save, you would start getting sick from your own fear-based perspiration.
Wow.
Allergic to your own sweat, but only your sweat that stinks of fear.
I love the sound of this already. This is going to be fun.
I feel like I'm allergic to my own fear of sweat, so I think it came from real life. Okay, so those are just like fun little things that we all have in common. You guys can, that you guys can bond over your mutual, inability to be put magically to sleep. Anyway, so let's move on to the few remaining things. So first of all, we've got, and each of these have to be done in the right order because they actually influence the next one. So we're going to go through homeworlds. And after you do your homeworlds, that's going to modify when we roll your class or your birthright, kind of what situation were you born into hereditarily. And then finally, that's going to, when we roll occupations, that doesn't influence the role of the occupation, but what it does is every occupation that you roll has a branching set where it's like based on your birthright. It says, if you rolled like for example, like law enforcement, and you were a noble, it would branch to something like enforcer to the emperor or something like that, or if you were like, you might be a thuggish beat cop if you were like rolled one of the scarier, lower, the outer realm. You get the point. Anyway, so This is going to be interesting because my die connections here. So I have a chart here, which you can just reference to see what these are about. And this actually gives you the last remaining world building, which is more situational. But basically, just to run through it really quickly, just so we have our terms. So the Imperium is basically there are no aliens that have been discovered in the universe. The only alien life form is the Eretzinu, or now the Numa, which is like such an alien form that's like it's like the only thing that's not of human base. You can almost argue that the evolved humans have become their own species, but they are born of humans. Anything that exists is either was created by humans or was born of humans. Like there are like androids and stuff, but those are obviously made by people. But within the benevolence, and this is the sphere of human influence in the galaxy. The galactic, it's all based around the way the kind of the four what are the four states, or the four not the four estates of government, the four major powers. You've got your kind of secular imperium, the empire that's just kind of like that manages the atavistic people, like everyone, the average Joe, and kind of pushes forth the interests of all humanity, keeps it real for old school humans. Then they are in league and co-rule with influence from the church, or in this case, again, the church is a very weird use of the word church, because you've got this like it is a science. It's like turning science into a faith. And that's the benevolence, and that's the Ulta in their own little council. But it's their own wise choice to be like, well, we have to keep a human emperor or empress because we're losing touch with our humanity. We don't want to make decisions for you guys. We want to tell you what we want, and you guys can kind of figure it out with that, So those are those kind of two major things. Then you've got, these subjects to the, there are various types of subjects to the Imperium. You've got your vassal, your vassal fiefdoms, your noble houses, your kind of like, your House Harkonnens, your House Atreides, kind of like powerful dynastic families that have to run the peripheral kingdoms or realms, because, if you got in a massive, 20,000 system Imperium, one person can't like keep their fingers on everything. Also, there are free worlds, mostly run by powerful businesses. So those are like the mercantile concerns. And finally, you have the kind of like the free colonists, the colonials who have seceded essentially for early on from the Imperium were allowed to do it because it would be bad optics to kill a bunch of randos, but they're also on the kind of fringes. So going through this, so again, the galactic core. So if you think of it as a big, set of concentric circles, you've got the galactic core, which is your where the seat of the empire is, and it's also both where Edo, that world we mentioned before, is based in the galactic core, and on Edo is the beneficent sanctum, which is the temple that is basically attached to the that kind of holy mountain where the lexicon and the Vulgata is kept. Then you also have the imperial throne on Solixis Regna, which is the secular seat. Anyway, and it kind of gives an example of the type of characters you're probably going to find here in these different places. It's like they're all fairly self-explanatory. So out from the core, you have the inner sphere, which is the biggest interstellar conduit. It's called the corridor because that's where. So hyperspace is not like Star Wars. You don't just be like, you plot your coordinates and you jump into it. You have to go into a tunnel. It's like Stargate, I guess, but hopefully not that bad. I just smacked on Stargate.
I mean, the movie was good, I thought. The series,
I think the series has more fans than the movie, but we won't go down that corridor.
Okay, all right.
We won't go down that galactic corridor right now. Anyway, so you've got
stay on target.
The inner sphere is pretty much the largest section. It's got the it's got your free use, it's got your expensive business concerns, which are able to be under free kind of rule because they provide a lot of stuff to the Imperium, including the important bank. I won't give you all that stuff. You can look at that if you want later. Then you also have the dependent principalities, which are all the various major and minor noble houses that are always and constantly squabbling with each other. There's no open war. Everything is done very much under the table. This is not a new concept, obviously. This is very much like all your feudal systems in your sci-fi worlds are always going to be like very much like, we have to play the game. Is this, it's that stuff. It's also unimportant about the specifics of who is what. There's going to be a bunch of noble houses. Doesn't really matter if you end up coming from one. You are of a degree of carte blanche and having fun with that, if it ever comes up. Also, there's also these strange guilds, including the guilds that control the gates. It's like your what do you call it? The guild navigators, I suppose, and Dune, except they don't actually go anywhere. They just control they control the Port Authority, or they have the Lincoln Tunnel, the space Lincoln Tunnel. Anyway, so again, this has listed that. So that's the largest sector. Then as you work out, you have the periphery, which separates the inner sphere from the outer sphere, and is got the legally recognized free colonies, which is just like, the people who would have been a problem for the Imperium, probably they represented old Earth. They're almost all atavisms. Though every time, it's kind of an agreement that they pay a tribute to the Imperium, so they're part of it to some degree, but they're not necessarily governed as strictly by it. They just pay their tribute every year, and part of that is making sure all their damn potents make it over there. Then from there, and again, you see the type of people that are drawn to that, people that tend to be more like dissidents or terraformers or colonial settlers and nomadic rangers, blah, blah, blah. Then we get to the outer sphere, which is where, as we go out, the law starts to get a little shakier, because it's harder to kind of like the expanse is bigger, it's more spread out, it's hard to do that. So you've got like the official corporate interests of the mining concerns, mining for vital or it says here earlier, just so it's a hydrogen based economy. Basically instead of the gold standard, it's the hydrogen 5 standard, which is basically the way that you power your space vessels and whatnot. Everything, a lot of things are hydrogen powered. They're not fuel cell powered anymore. But you also have like penal colonies out there. You could end up coming from a prison planet. Like you might get a reprieve from being a prisoner, because that potency means more to the Imperium than whoever you murdered to get you in there,
Well, let's roll up these backgrounds, huh?
Yes. And then finally the Far Frontier, which you won't actually have anyone from. This is there because you're going to end up working there as survey bureau agents, but like no one really comes from there. It's not police. It's not censored. Now here I have the workings of a table, but it's not accurate because obviously if you look at the last several entries are identical. So, but I have their counterparts there, so you can at least get a rough idea. So now this, we have to make a decision. You can make a decision before you roll, just to have a little bit of influence of where you're from, to have a little bit. You can either go completely just denuded and just go roll D20, or you can add or subtract your luck from it. You would be adding it would be, if it's positive, it's going to get you closer in theory to be you can't tell, but you can see it's increasing, right? Like it's supposed to be 20 is going to be core worlder, and 19 was meant to be it was, I think 19 was meant to be part of the benevolence in the core world, and 20 was part of the royal court, basically. Our court worlds doesn't mean you're part of the royal court, but so if you want to use your luck, you just have to decide before you roll it, or if you want it to be more of a completely random thing, that's up to you. But everything is accurate until you get to once you hit you're fine at 19 and 20, the only ones that are wrong. But I can also help you through that. So yeah, just decide ahead of time. You don't even have to tell me. Just you can just decide yourself, whatever you want to do. If you want to roll or not.
Yeah. Do you have to sacrifice some luck in return, or or after I add it? Okay.
Nope, no, it's just a straight roll adjustment. It's just a statistical modifier adjustment, which is not like an expenditure of luck ever.
Okay.
So
I'm trying to wake Cersei up to see if she'll roll for me.
she's so good.
Expected.
I should go get my giant. I should get my giant phone D20, even though I don't need to roll for anything.
All right. Hey.
All right. I rolled a 3. So.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So no, that does not mean that you're a prisoner on the penal colony. It just means that you're on a world that happens to be serving that purpose. That means you could be on the executive staff. You could be a lot of different things, depending on. And again, your birthright could determine, like, if you roll a really high birthright, that means that you're probably not going to be like a prisoner, or if you are, you're a prisoner for like political reasons, probably.
Okay.
It just depends on what. That's where the influence comes in.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to be a prisoner. I have a feeling that I'm gonna be a prisoner.
You never know. You just have a bad feeling about these things, right?
Yeah.
What did everybody else get?
I got, or rather Cersei got for me, 10. So inner sphere, free trade world.
All right. So basically you're on a mercantile world, which means that's a pretty broad field of things. That could be, you'll see later on, but that could be, you could be actually in the merchant class, or you could just be an entertainer for people that come through on business. Maybe you're a, you're a male exotic dancer. I don't know, whatever it is. Who knows? We'll find out.
Sounds about right.
New background.
Not new, but just kidding.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, next, who else got something interesting?
Maybe a magician on like a Vegas style hotel resort.
Planet Vegas.
What a stripper magician?
We had that.
Why do I have to be a stripper?
When I worked at Troma, we had a movie called Vegas in Space that we distributed Vegas in Space.
Can I just be a classy magician? Why do I have to take my clothes off? Okay.
What did you pull
the magic
in that ear?
All right, dude. So somebody else want to give me a idea what you got, just out of curiosity?
7.
So that's what the the tributary freehold. So that's like one of those pure colonial worlds where it's like old school, tenant farmer kind of equivalency. It's like living off the grid a little bit, but still paying, lip service to having the protection of the Imperium, but you don't have to go to all their assemblies.
Tributary what?
It's basically a tributary freehold world, meaning that it's a free world recognized by the Imperium because it pays taxes, and it's not considered enough of a threat to be like, well, these guys should be, it's not worth the optics of probably destroying you, assuming that if the Imperium were even evil. We don't know if the Imperium's evil or not. There's no like mustache twirling in it, but they do go and collect a bunch of children for weird things, so who knows. But it is this, they allow these free worlds to maintain their freedom if they pay a little bit of taxation, send it over their potents, and don't try to get together to overthrow the government, just like Nevada. Okay. And then again, that could be, if you look at, if you cross-reference that up to here, you can see the type of characters you might end up as, before we roll it, by just looking at its equivalency of like what the common stock are of those areas. Anyway, who else didn't?
I got 18.
18. Ooh, that's one of the noble that's a dependent thief world. That means you're part of one of the noble houses. Now, it doesn't mean you're a noble. It means that because you could be the latrine emptier on.
What's up?
Who knows? We'll find out. You could be the latrine emptier. But we will soon add to that mix to find out. Was that everybody? I feel like somebody else didn't tell me yet, right? Or is that everybody?
The cat didn't.
Oh. Okay, so now this is the only place where I'm really, I mean, everything's been running so smoothly, but no, this is the part where my now normally the system I'd worked out, but it's kind of broken right now, so I'm gonna have to kind of fix it on the fly. Is that this result would be reflected on the next table of your birthright by influencing the die type that you roll to find out what you are, because it's gonna basically certain things have a basically it would be an increasing die type based on what you rolled here, because you know you're less likely to have certain results and whatever. But I think I'm just going to change it to a straight modifier that I will kind of manage for you. So basically here you've got you don't have a copy of the table here, so but just to give you an idea, it's like you have that little cheat sheet that says like some of you might be noble scions born into aristocracy and attempting to either increase or restore your honor, blah blah blah. You might be commoners, you might be rabble. So let's go down. I'll have to do these individually with you, so that's okay. So somebody tell me what you had on your homeworld if you want to go first. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. What am I doing?
What was your homeworld again?
I was the free trade
Oh, you were the
free trade world.
Inner sphere free trade world. Okay, so I think that is okay. That's going to be one of the broadest. So this one, so we're not going to use a different die type. We will use the D20 still. And within the D20, I'm going to have to change a modifier to that. I'll figure out in a second. So roll a D20 and tell me what you get, and I will compare it to what my kind of chicken scratch here.
I got a 15.
15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry. It's when you don't number things. 15. So yeah, okay. 15, you said, right?
I did.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. All right. So you are of a religious you are of a birthright of the benevolence, meaning that you are born into a family that serves in some capacity the the faith zenithal, or the benevolence, the religion on Edo. Now that puts you in a special class where you're like essentially basically is like they're considered like non-landed nobles. Like you have like station, because it's kind of a huge honor to be involved in that. So you're born into some sort of uh like it's almost like, what do they call it, a yeoman, somebody who like a religious yeoman, someone who's like has a little bit of status but no or an errant, a knight errant, or a bachelor, a knight's bachelor, I suppose, though we don't know what your career is yet. That'll determine exactly how that manifests. But you are not part of the you're not part of the rabble, and you're also not a noble lord. You're kind of in the middle, but you're specifically in the middle, on the upper middle class, based on the fact that you have ties to the benevolent temple.
All right.
So just keep that for now in this side. So just write down for just as your buzzword, just as a reminder. It's not actually accurate, but it's enough to remind me for the category. It's acolyte. Just write acolyte.
Okay.
You are not necessarily an acolyte of any faith. It just says that's just give you a keyword for your tie, just until I can write it out better. It's just for me to remind you, to help you.
Written.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry, it's so messy. Sorry, so sloppy. Okay, who next?
I'll go.
All right. So, what is your homeworld again?
Tributary freehold world.
Okay, cool. So that is okay. All right, good. That gives me an idea. All right, so go ahead then and give me an old D20er.
15.
15. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, all right, all right. So Okay, you are born of a. Okay, so you are born to a guild class, so somebody who's basically of the mercantile guild, who is basically, in the inner sphere. You've got, there's like a bazillion people who make each type of thing or do each type of trade, but when you get out to those frontier worlds, um it might be like the only person that does something is on a certain planet. It's like, here's the only doctor in the first, a 200-mile radius or something. I don't know, whatever it is. That does not mean that you are that. It means that you were born into a family that provided a service like that.
Mhm.
So you are of a class of people that it has no official title, but at the same time, here is like your family was a big deal because they provided necessary services that and you wouldn't be out there unless it was a necessary service. Your family provided necessary services where they're not very readily available, but you're also not nobility.
So
But
like
that will influence what happens next. Okay, so if you want to write down, yeah, you could write down Gilder. Gilder would be a good way of mentioning that on your thing. Just again, it's just like a buzzword for me to remember. I'm
so
walking you
like
through
a
this.
elite gun farmer.
Elite gun farmer. I thought you said gun farmer. I was like, man, these wild crop guns. It feels like a very
Yeah.
Texas occupation.
And
Gun.
the Newmar are into some strange things.
Yes, indeedy. Who be next? Who we got?
I'll go.
Awesome. And remind me your home worldly
It
world.
was the inner sphere, the like the noble house.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. All right. That's roll high. Let's just see if we get some.
12.
No, that's not bad. So
It's not a 2.
two. So I think I will modify that with. So you said you were part of the. Sorry, so let me just double check my math here.
18.
You were
I was in
18. Okay, so
18 was
that's
my home world.
okay. All right. So I'm gonna, as a 12, so 15. So uh, okay. So you were born into a family that is not first generation nobility, but was ascended to to a noble. So some atavisms can gain nobility if they're not born into it, if they have potence in their line. Therefore, and they are basically, it's one of the incentives for families to make sure their kids are not running from the Imperium, is that if you are a commoner, and one of the only ways to ever get out of that, that caste, is to birth somewhere in your bloodline, you start popping out, or someone starts popping out potence, and that gives you cachet. Now you can lose it too after a time, so it's possible that what you do as a character, as a potent that's born into a family that's only has any status because of people like you in it, your next thing that happens could have a big influence on how you interact with your family. But yes, you're part of a lineage of seraphs, part of the seraphim, because you were potents. You were not necessarily nobles prior to that. You were arisen commoners, but because you happen to have a propensity to your bloodline to have potence in it. So you can put seraph line or something like that as your little marker, just to remind yourself, or to remind me when I ask later. Who we got? Who left?
It's just me.
Okay. So what was your, remind me? Were you the prison?
It was the prisoner or prison
All
world,
right.
yeah.
Now let me just double check my little.
Don't be a
Here.
prisoner.
Don't be a okay, cool. I got it. I'm ready.
All right, D20. No luck addition. Actually, I wouldn't even have my luck addition. I want to Hail Mary this. 16.
16. Oh, nice, 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 nice. That's gonna even out nicely. So that brings it back down to a. That brings you down to a commoner status. and that could be manifest in several different ways. And that's going to definitely make a difference on what happens when we roll what you're doing there. Like if you are a prisoner, you might be, you might be a debt, part of a what do they call it, like a
Injured.
yeah, in indentured, whatever. But anyway, yeah. So just put commoner. That one's an easy one to remember.
Okay, already did so.
So that's everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay. So now there's no more modifiers to the roles. What's going to happen now when we do our careers, it's going to branch your career into a specific discipline based on whatever your perfect combination. It's going to, and hopefully the combination of the home world, your kind of social standing, and what career you land on will kind of paint a picture of your enough of a background, just the facts, just the basics in which you can kind of like have, no other backstory I don't think is required other than your secret motivation, which will come last. But so who wants to go? Let me get my chart on this one. This one's a little weird. This I have to cross-reference harder. This is the one that really got messed up. All right, I'm ready. Who won it?
Oh, Thorin, you going?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll go.
So give me remind me what you wrote down in the last round.
Acolyte.
Oh, acolyte. Yeah. So you are an acolyte on the mercantile world, or not that it was the mercantile world. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So now, because I don't have a super elegant system for this right now, give me roll a D100.
Oh, okay.
Now this,
I
don't think I don't think I have the ability to have you modify it and get a decent result.
It is.
But let me just double check before you do it. Let me just check one thing and make sure.
I can really hold them for so long.
I know.
Oh no, what fell?
Where'd it go? Stand by. Okay, just go ahead and roll. Would you do this for me? Okay, here's a way we can use your luck. I think I can merge these two tables that I have in an interesting way. So you're actually going to do two rolls. I take it back. So the first roll is going to be a D20 modified by your luck, and that's
all right.
That's going to bring me to the next table, which will be the D100.
So. Here you go. Modified by luck is a 5.
Really? Ooh. Okay. And you are okay. So now I also lied to you. So you're not going to do a D100 now, since I combine these. You're actually going to do, because I already jumped to do a subtable. Let's do a D20. This one will be unmodified.
Okay. Yeah. A whopping 1.
1.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
You are, and remind me, so you are of the
Free trade world, birth into the benevolent alkalite, yada yada.
Well, this one's actually very easy to branch. It's one of the few that lines up perfectly. So you are basically a mendicant monk. You're basically a mendicant servant. You're a beggar. You're like a beggar monk.
a beggar monk. All right.
You were a beggar monk before you and whether or not we'll based on your motivation you get last, you can decide if whether or not you were they came and had to dig you out of there to take you in for your special abilities, or if you went like I want to get out of this mess. But you were this is not in necessarily any indication if you're happy being a beggar, a mendicant of the benevolence, but it's a good place to panhandle because people have the most money here. Now that's going to come with some I'm not ready to give it to you yet because it's in a whole other area because this is my life right now. But you do get certain starting items and stuff like that, kind of like with your
Mm-hmm.
occupation like normal. But just write that down, that mendicant or whatever, and we'll take it from there in a bit. Okay.
Got it. Done.
Who we got now?
I'll go.
All right, and remind me. So first you can do the same thing he just did, which is a D20 and modify it by your luck.
Okay. 10.
Okay. But Bubba, hush. Sorry, not you, my dog. 10. All right. And remind me now your other statistics, your other things we rolled.
All right, so I'm a commoner on a penal colony world.
Ah, yes. Okay. That's 10.
Latrine cleaner.
Okay, so now, oh no, that's right. I now you roll a D20, so that's my subtable now. Sorry, my brain just flooped out on me.
No worries.
All right, I'm ready now. So D20 unmodified.
Oh, unmodified?
Mm-hmm.
From before, or do you want me to roll again?
Oh no, that D10, that 10 you just rolled got me to my subtable to get your actual occupation.
Oh,
okay. So
I was trying to find a way to make it work. I was trying to bypass the master table that I wrote to be able to actually let your luck have an influence. So that's why I had the subtables.
All right. So then just D20 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, 18.
Okay. Interesting. And you are, one more time, you are a commoner.
Yep.
Who is on the prison planet.
Mm-hmm.
So you are. Well, I'm gonna let you interpret, since I didn't get this like perfectly ironed out yet. I'm gonna let you pick one of these two interpretations of this.
Okay.
So you are either a yeah, if because commoner made it hard because it's right in the middle. You are basically a prison prophet of sort. So you are someone who definitely does have a potency. So you have you have kind of these weird alien voices in your head to some degree, or that's how you might interpret it. And that's either means that you could either be a prisoner who kind of is at the vanguard of respect within the prisoners, because you are like you are the head of the religious internal, and you're like a religious importance to the other prisoners. Or you could be an employee of the prison where you were working as a kind of like the sad post of being like the ordained minister type person that's had to be the colony or whatever. So you can go either way. I don't have a good way of sussing it out for the commoner. That's where my table breaks down. You can just pick one, or you can just flip a coin if you want.
Yeah, I both of those sound interesting to me because I had kind of a general I had ideas of what I wanted to do once we got into the world, regardless of character, just kind of interesting pathways to take. And those both lead to where I kind of want to
go. Oh, cool.
So,
you want to flip a coin?
Yeah, I'll roll a D6.
Let's flip a coin.
We'll flip the coin. Heads is the employee.
Okay.
All right. You want me to do it?
Yeah, you got the nice coin.
All right. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Tails.
Oh, I'm a prophet. Okay, that's
so you're like and you could interpret that as a prisoner who kind of found religion, or maybe realized they were potent. And I mean, maybe you were in prison so long that you were being transferred from juvenile hall to whatever to the deep colonies for doing crappier stuff even at a young age, and then realize you had this ability, and that's like, to you, that manifested as like the gods are speaking through me or whatever.
Okay.
And you can basically use that to gain the respect of some of the more hard Scrabble, and also look at your ability scores. If you have like it might be like a survival thing. It's like if you have a high strength or something, and maybe it's not so important to have to use that to weaponize that to get people to respect you. But if you have like a low strength, maybe that's how you got by without getting squished by these tough, fringe, penal people.
Yeah. I'll let you know after I write the 10-page short story about my character's background.
Well, a prophet with that high personality score.
True. who would like to go next?
Two of you.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay. So first, do the D10. No, D20 with adjusted by your luck.
That's a 4.
Okay. So that is going to be okay. So I got the right table now. Now you just do an unmodified. I almost said unmolested, unmodified D20. Let me
not molest the D20.
It's technically accurate to say that. That's the proper use of that word, actually. But
that's a 10.
True.
DJ, you got a 10 again?
And this time.
Oh, you got a 10. Is that what you said?
For my second roll.
Okay. And tell me remind me your other background and stuff. Sorry.
Tributary Freehold Gilder.
Okay. This actually kind of works out. So it comes up as essentially a street vendor or a local vendor to a township if you are on a small, like you are on a probably not a very large colony. So to me, I mean, you can interpret this how you like, but to me that reads as you almost kind of degraded your station by, possibly taking the trade skill you learned from your family and took it on the road to go sell cheap services to other people. And we can determine, I actually have a table, we can determine exactly what trade you were involved with too.
Well, that could be a MLM snake oil.
Yeah. But this is probably going to be something that's more geared towards like people who are living off the grid. But yeah, I guess you can MLMs for off the grid, right? Do you want to roll a random trade guild, or do you want to just come up with something on your own?
Random. I like it.
Let me get
everything else is really random. So
yes, that's the DCC special. I'm leaning into it. Did I lose my? Yeah, I had it right here. Okay, I think this might work. I can't find the right table that I had for this, but I think this one should do the trick. Oh no, here we go. I got it. I lied. Do me do me 2 dice actually.
yeah.
No, just kidding. Just do a one, just roll a D20 again.
Okay, D20. That's a 10.
10, yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. So basically, your family were brewmasters. Probably in charge of one of the few in a relatively smaller community, a colony, on a world. You were probably like one of the hot spots. Your family had the bar, but because you are sounds like you kind of took that on the road, probably maybe with your permission, your family, maybe not, but you're trying to make a quick buck by bottling and taking upon the road your family's awesome ales. It'd be really funny if you had the allergy to the alcohol. Do you have that?
I do.
Is that yours?
I also have it.
That is hilarious. Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Love it.
Oh no.
That's perfect. I think that's great.
Is it imbibing or is it also like on skin and stuff?
I think
it's like just drinking.
Oh yeah, I think it's the whole kit and caboodle.
Great.
So yeah, you don't got to drink it to sell it, right?
Yeah.
The traveling book salesman. You ain't got to read them to sell them. Yeah, cool. No, I like that. That's hilarious. I think that's got some potential there. Okay. So and Nell, did we do yours yet?
Nope.
Okay, cool. I mean, let's do it. First D20.
D20. I don't have any luck, so 16.
Okay. Ooh, nice. You got these high rolls. It's good. So okay, table.
Wish my ability scores had been this high.
Well, you might make it up for it in your holy schmoly. Okay, so go ahead and roll. Whoops. Go ahead and now roll another D20. Unmodified, obviously.
4.
4. Well. And what was you were of the remind me, you were
the
You're a noble house.
Noble, yeah, the inner sphere and the lineage of Sarah.
So you are born into a family that the family of the primary physician to a noble house. So of the non of wait, did you wait no actually I take that back. Hang on a second. Did you have a noble did you have were you so you were born there and we have the world type and then what was
You
the
said like the family ascended to nobility because of the
yes,
potency.
okay. Gotcha,
Mhm.
gotcha. Okay. So you're yeah, so you would be you were a medical doctor yourself
Oh
that
shit.
you were given you were basically allowed greater access than many would based on your kind of status. What is your latency? What was your potency?
Uh, Psychokinesis.
Oh, okay. That could work there. It'd be funny if you had the psychometabolism. That would really be interesting there.
Mm.
But yeah, so you do roll. Actually, I have a little sub table. I forgot that I wrote in here. Roll me a d6.
5.
5. So it says you're a specialist, and that
Mm.
specialist would be you are a cardiologist.
Cool.
All right.
Maybe that psychokinesis help move little pieces around in the surgery for you.
Man.
Or it's also maybe something you were trying to hide, depending on your secret motivation that comes up is the last thing we do,
Right.
but
Well,
yeah,
let's
you
see.
were a cardiologist of sorts. Was that everybody's schmiddeal?
Mhm.
That's everybody.
All right, so the last one is the one that's interesting, and the one we're now
Oh, no,
normal.
there's another table.
This is it.
And
This one doesn't have
Hey,
to be cross-referenced.
yeah.
This is the one that gives you your motivation, and it's going
The
to be the
table
one.
episode. This is what this is going to be called.
It is, but but you never have to hear another piece of backstory because the idea is that with this stuff,
Who
everything you
needs a
should have,
backstory?
you should never need another piece of and you should never need another piece of actual data.
What about
Everything's
a name?
I'm gonna make you
well.
read
I mean,
my
as far as
PDF. My PDF backstory, you're gonna have to read live next episode.
no,
Okay.
that's screw that crap. I'm not doing it. Took this bullet for you. No, no, but the idea is that to go with that idea of that the PCs and the players being at the same level of information, basically, pretty early on, this is not a big spoiler. You're obviously thrust in a situation unexpected where you're stranded, based on the premise we talked about last week. And so everything that you're discovering things at the same level, and you don't have to rely on the same interactions you would normally have, but all the little things that are rolling do have influence on what happens. Like even knowing the things that we've talked about today about the Imperium, even if you're not physically in there immediately, it's going to have influence. But the idea behind this is once you have this stuff that you have now in combination with your secret motivators, your drivers and your dilemmas, the things that you've got going on inside that you don't necessarily advertise to the world, that's going to give you the type stuff you might ask, normally, like, what would this character do, and it won't require any other knowledge beyond what we've talked about because anything you're directly encountering is brand new to everyone, both the characters and you. So anyway, now this is unmodified. This one goes back to being unmodified, and this one's going to be interesting because you have to kind of just interpret this as much as possible. Now, the only thing I have here that I'm toying with is you'll have one opportunity to re-roll or you can do one of two things. So if you get it and there's nothing that you can make sense of to make it work, I feel like you could, but if it doesn't seem to work, if you don't like it, if you don't like what that says about it, you can do one of two things. You can either re-roll it one time or pick essentially it's the yang to its yin. If you're if you end up rolling that you're super you have undying allegiance to the Imperium and you're like, I don't like that, you could pick the opposite basically and be like you're really a dissident and you're just kind of taking shit down from the inside. Or you could just go back to a random roll again, but you'd have to take the result that time. So you've got, 3 things that could happen. And from there, you just pick the one that sounds the most interesting to you in combination with your other things, and you make it work. So pick it based on what you feel like you could make work without any further explanation, or the minimal of explanations, hopefully no further, or just what you think is more interesting. So that said, let me get my... Now, normally we do this completely in secret, but you guys are, I think just because of the fact that I don't have a decent way of conveying this other through like the chat thingy. I think it's part, and also just because we're also learning right now too. I mean, you guys are fine if would you rather you not know what the other people have, and then just, or can you think you can put that player information aside?
I can forget real easily.
I will probably forget.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's hard enough to remember your own, right?
I mean, I'll be honest, I probably won't forget, but it won't affect how I play. So
cool. All right, I think is easier this way. But also, you can kind of see how the system works. There's only one thing. If you happen to get one result, I'm not even gonna mention at this point. Wait, that's the one time I would not tell you. I would tell you for chat.
Okay.
But
what do we roll, El Capitan?
All right, let me get my chart. Sorry. Okay, I think I will going to stick with the. I didn't need to adjust for modifiers yet, but it doesn't make it doesn't make a difference. Anyway, let's go to D20. I think I can make this work. It's a broken chart, but I think
unmodified.
Unmodified. So first of all, remind me who you got.
All right, I am the Alkalite beggar monk.
Got it. Okay.
And I am rolling.
Let's see if what we got.
And I rolled an 18.
18. All right.
I hope it's a special one. You gotta text me.
Right.
It's not. By the way, I will say this: the special thing I mentioned is compatible with anything. So if no one ends up getting it and someone wants to volunteer to take it, I'll give it to one person who chooses it, just to make it interesting.
Okay.
And at that point, I will ask for a volunteer to private chat me, and I'll just say I got the first person whenever they come through. So I don't want somebody to announce it. But right now, so far, I'll let you know at the end if that needs
okay.
So right now, you have got a I had it. You are trying to start a new life. You're trying to gather resources for a new life. You are running from something, and this is not you're doing this outside of anybody's help, therefore you can't get somebody's help. Therefore, maybe you're running because, and this could have been a thing where you were running, first because you were sorted and you didn't want to join the Seraphim, and then you've just been hiding out and they finally caught up with you. And now it's just like, well, I'm stuck in here, but if I would love to get back to that, to starting a new life if I could do it, basically interpret that how you will.
Okay.
But yeah, you're not, whatever you're putting forward as your public face is probably not going to be indicative of starting a new life is going to probably mean against with your old life. So that means if your old life is connected to the benevolence, probably means even though you are busking essentially for the benevolence as a mendicant, it might mean that that's all freaking showed us to get money so you could do something else. Who knows? You interpret how you will. Okay. Who next? Oh, also, and there's a dilemma too, but I need to give that to you later. That has an associated dilemma.
I'll go.
But I don't have that chart. So, okay. Yes. Go for it. So that is going to be a D20 unmodified.
A 2.
2. Okay. And oh wow, it's actually okay. It's one of the ones that is colonial to begin. It's you're a colonial, right?
I'm a tributary freehold guilder.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm the distributor for my family's brewery, maybe.
You're trying to escape this prison of servitude. You are not wanting to be in your social class or your colonial life. That could be manifested as trying to reinvent yourself as a fake noble within the Imperium, like kind of Count Monte Cristo style, or just be like, I want to get away from everything. It's not. It's subtly different than Thorns, but the motivation's different. This is more about Thorns is more, I think, I think you can interpret it however you want, whether it's a reaction to other people or just your own, your own ambitions. They're similar, but they have some differences. I think the difference is with Thorns, there's more of an opposing force. Yours is something that's probably like no one would have suspected,
Mm-hmm.
But that could, the thing about the feudal system is once you have been assigned your lot in life, it's very hard to get out of it. So, starting a new life is hard, or, escaping a current situation is hard because there's not many other options usually. Okay. So think of it how you will. And then I will give you later on, I'll have to give you the associated dilemma because I'm missing that chart. Anyway. All right. Who next?
Okay.
My clarion call for the night is I'm missing that chart. Okay. Sorry, who is that?
I know.
Awesome. Okay, so I know what you got is your other stuff, I think. So just give me the
I'm the doctor. I'm 17.
Naked D20. Okay.
Naked 17.
Ooh, this is interesting. So these are so right now what I'm doing is giving you your driver, the thing that kind of is your thing that either is your secret ambition or your secret, it could be a secret mission or motivator. In this case, it's nothing so dastardly. Yours is actually probably the nicest one so far. You have an obsession with past and ancient cultures, what we call atavistic leanings. You tend to relate more to pure form humans than to the squabbling nobles around you that are always trying to get to a rise up the ladder of evolution. So you're interpret that how you will, but you are obsessed with the past, ancient cultures, pure humans, and wishes that kind of yearns for a golden age that may never have truly existed to begin with.
And I think it's just me.
Okay. Hit me. And remind me also.
Not one. Sorry.
Nice. No, that's fine. So what do you have as what's your remind? Oh, is that the prison?
I am the prison prophet.
This is hilarious. So you got a nat one?
Nat one.
Okay. So now tell me, this might be why I think you might be fun to even make this work, but it's up to you. You remember you can take the opposite. The way is you want to make your family proud. You are driven by a sense of familial duty. Probably you've failed in some respect. That's probably why you are there now, but like you would do very much it means a lot to rise up out of that. Maybe that's even what motivated the religious reawakening, so to speak. Or you could do one of two things. You could either do a re-roll and take the result no matter what, or you could pick the opposite, which is like burn your family down, basically.
Would you still be open to doing one of the secret ones? Or I think I could still do it.
It would be in combination with it, yes.
It would be in combination with it? Okay. I was going to say, I'm open to doing that with this character.
So we'll take that as the one we're going to... Yeah.
Unless somebody else wanted to as well. I don't want to butt in.
So you.
Okay.
I think that should get...
out there.
I would recommend, before I even tell you what it is, I think that might be fun to take it with this strange combination. So I don't know. Are you happy with that combination?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I would say I kind of want to put it up to fate one more time. Say re-roll. And if I get another nat one, that's going to be hilarious.
Oh, let me before you do that, I'm going to write in the chat to you what the secret is, and then you let that influence your decision.
Okay.
right? In the and this way, it's only going to be you. No, not even Twitch will see this. This will just be in our Zoom chat. Like nobody will see that when I do it.
Not.
Right?
No. Well, as long as you direct it
Oh,
directly
I
to him,
can't. I
yeah.
can only do it to. Oh,
which we're all
No, you
doing.
I'm gonna
can.
do it to Elena, and then she's gonna write it to you. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right.
Because I can't. I only
Yeah,
have.
it does. Yeah, it doesn't show anybody else.
Oh, it's okay. But if I type,
Oh.
can you just copy and paste what I typed to you, Elena, into a private chat to? Oh, you don't even know what the private chat would be either. Oh, can they?
Yeah, you could just send me an
You can
email.
you can change your name.
Yeah, you can. You know how to change your
You
name on
can
there.
change your name
You basically, you
and
just
Yeah.
change it to a letter.
Yep, I'm changing it to
Technology.
J. Just capital J. We'll make
There
it
it
easy.
is.
All right, like then I can send. Should be yeah, I can send it to you now.
Mhm.
Um,
The final girl. Sorry, I just read the chat.
Yes, she's the only one here. Or the only yes. Lainey Marie 96. Thanks for being here in this long episode of subtables within subtables and exposition of Blaze Space World.
Ooh.
and get all that stuff out of the way.
Uh,
Never have to
Wow.
address it again.
I like the secret.
It would also mean that I'm gonna put one more thing. This will, if you take
What's
it,
the secret?
He's
I'm
gonna
gonna add
try
one
to
more.
Gonna
unlock.
have to play.
You,
We'll never play. This is it. This is what the game is.
Table rolling
The
simulator.
next session is just a recap of the initiative rules. And then the next episode is going to be, the dictionary and all space map.
Ooh, space map. Sorry, I like.
Let me know when you're done.
All right.
Do you want to go with that?
I want to go with the secret. I think I will still re-roll to see.
Because I will say that I would interpret that as make your family proud, as make the person that put you in that situation is proud.
Yeah.
Make the what proud?
You say go with the opposite, or you go with own new roll? Sorry,
I'm gonna go with the opposite. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
in this case,
burn it down.
Make Shai Halud proud.
Cool. And I'll give you separate later on when I have that. I have to finish out the dilemma tables and stuff, and I will hand you a specific thing before next session that you can offline that'll kind of fill in the gaps in the information that you have on that one.
Okay, I will have a few questions.
Relate to our drivers?
Yeah. So say again.
I said, is that like specific to like the same thing that we got for our drivers? They're like.
So there's going to be a dilemma that
pair?
You're going to have a dilemma that we're going to randomly generate also, but it's going to be off of a directly tied to your driver subchart. It's going to be a much smaller die roll. That's it. That's it. We're done. 40.
All right.
Hey,
man, I can't wait to roll a driver and then do a half funnel. And
well, that's the thing. You only have to manage the one character. None of that stuff's going to change. The only thing that would ever change if your character died is potentially your attributes and your latency. But other than that, everything stays the same. So you're not having to manage a bunch of other characters in your head or like really lose that kind of immediacy. That's the only thing I personally have an issue with the funnel for extended play, But yeah, but as far as like, an open-ended thing that's not a one-off, like that's the most should ever have to set up to understand, to have enough understanding of the position. So when you make a decision as your character, it's coming from a place, hopefully, that's informed enough that makes sense to that character. Like you're doing things both based on, your PC interpretation of character situation. That's the idea, that it's not like, just like, I feel like a lot of times when we play games, that there are, usually it's like, it's pretty obvious what to do. Is like you're being chased or you're being attacked, so you got to do this thing, you got to do this thing. But if you don't have, for example, if you're put in a situation you can make 40 different choices because it's an open world, you're, instead of picking something arbitrary, you're having to be fed having to be fed like an adventure seed. You can be like, oh, that thing over there seems to be a pretty natural place to go or thing to do in relation to what my dilemma, my drivers, and the situation that kind of like brought it all to a head. So hopefully that's the idea. We'll see if that actually works.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
but
I'm excited
because I think, again, the thing I think that appeals to me about it is I like the fact that that's the only time. Like, there's no like, okay, can you tell me a little bit about this thing that I'm supposed to know as a character? Like, you don't need to worry about any of that stuff from here on out. Like, all that stuff's going to be, anything that comes up is going to come up as foreign, just as foreign to your character as it would be to you. So we front loaded it with the stuff that mattered, and it's not so much backstory, it's drivers. It's like things that tell you why you would make choices. I try to use the same kind of narrative tools we'd use like in screenwriting, whereas like, if you're writing a screenplay, it's not important to put backstory at the beginning. It's important just to establish what people want, why they want it, why they don't have it. So then when the crazy stuff happens, why they're doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But that's really, and it's completely irrelevant, like about like what your favorite color is, or you can do whatever you want, and that's up to you if you ever want to add that type of material for your own edification. I don't even need to know about it. It's like that stuff that I don't even have to stick my nose in. But this is just the bare minimum, I think, to give you the situational stuff, because you're gonna see, like, this knowledge is kind of drives that whole concept of it going more slowly. And again, we already know the premise of the event of the campaign, as it shifts from science fiction to fantasy over the course of the campaign. And you can already kind of see, just in the information I gave tonight, the seeds for that, right? Like, the advanced technology looking as magic. Well, there's the pneuma right there. The evolved humans coming off as, potentially mistaken as, superstitious, fairy races, for example, like all these different things that could happen. That you also might have influence over how even other people interpret things that you come across. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, that's I think that's probably a good, right there anyway. It's perfect timing. Well, that took up the whole episode, and well, it's actually probably pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
Get all the busy stuff out of the way, all the busy work. The only
thrilling table rolling.
I can individually send you before next, once we don't have to waste any time on it, because everything that we had to determine has been determined. So I'm going to send you guys a couple of things. I'll send you guys your background produced starting items. Or mission items that you would all have pretty much a kit that you'd be given on your mission. A very basic mission brief, which is just basically what you already know. And then the only other thing I'll give you is you can use it if you want to, depending on your character. Your character would determine if you would use this. A very simple flow chart that says what is official Bureau of Survey procedures when this particular instance comes up. That is not because you have to use that. It's because if you want to, because of your character, you'd at least have that. It's like an in-game thing where, in theory, your character might have memorized it or just learned it to death, but also it would not be unreasonable that flowchart would exist in the world of the story, because, when in doubt, check the surveyor manual, But again, that's not for there to dictate your moves. It's there to be like, if you decided your character was that type of person, or the opposite, you'd want to know what the standard is. And so you'll have that as a way to know, at least to know what official imperial policy is. Things happen.
One must know these things.
I want to know that.
Well, yeah, because that's
I don't know. Yeah, I want to know.
Because if your secret motivation is like to burn it down, or to variety of different things that might go, I can send some I mean, the nice thing is it's futuristic, so you can, and it's based on Earth, so you can pick whatever naming convention you want. You're it's up to you whatever you want to use as a name. I would say, stay away from like jokey names. But
So no Ronnie D.
That's less of a jokey name than I've heard though.
Well,
we
Ronnie
had
Donnie.
some suggestions in the chat, like Bodie mix something.
Yeah.
I can't remember anymore. It's too far gone.
But yeah, I will say, yeah, I mean, and know that like the Imperium kind of use a lot of like Latin terms. So if you want to grab an old book of Roman names, you could use that as inspiration if you wanted. You don't have to do that. That's that's an extreme. That would be like the nobility might want to do that just for fun. But
Flavian, here
feel
we go.
free. So your only homework for next time is basically just think about how those things combine. And that shouldn't take very long at all. And then I'll just, if you come up with a name, and keep in mind, that we'll worry about that on the time. You don't have to worry about that. That's in game. I was about to give you some in game information. I don't need to do that. I realize I don't need to do that because that's what that goes against the whole premise, right?
Show, don't tell.
So you just need a name, so you just need a name that you would have had up until the shit hits the fan, which implies that might change, but that's okay. Worry about that later. And then, just think about how you might want to manifest some of these things. And when I send you maybe wait till I'll send you the dilemma. Do me a favor, on our email chain or whatever, just like some point in the next few days, just send me just a quick recap of those things that we wrote down for your characters, so I don't accidentally roll on the wrong shot.
And you and the audience send that too.
Shut up.
And we can add questions to it too, right? So I have some things. About
I have some questions about how things work.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also about other secrets and motivations that I'll need to ask about. So
send me whatever questions you have, and rule questions. I figured, I was originally thinking, we go over some other rules, but you know what? I'm going to let them happen as they come up. Some of the edge rules, as far as the actual, like how, the initiative was the one that was really important to do. Other than that, I think like, I have like encumbrance rules and like usage die, and you have the, we will demonstrate that on as it comes up. So we're not eating up any more time just talking about this. But as far as everything, you guys, thanks for letting me blab at you for this long, and it's starting to feel like something. It's starting to feel exciting now. I'm getting excited.
Can't wait to play.
I'm gonna send you the document, famous last words, that actually does show you a lot of these things on it that we've talked about. Just you have it just for funsies. Keep in mind that if you happen to remember what you rolled and you look at what I sent you later, and you're like, that doesn't look like it matches up what I rolled. It's because I have to redo the numbers. We're keeping your characters as they are, but just know that if I send you something, it's just for your own edification. Just you have a copy of the manual, so to speak. But at the same time, like you will notice that those numbers probably do not align anymore. But that's the nature of the beast. But guys, well, this is fun. And Elena, is there anything we have to do at this point? I don't know if we have to just
say goodbye, maybe.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
Well, say goodbye, you guys.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks for sticking the bitter end. The bitter end. All right. We're still looking for one or two more people, and I can generate you offline. So if you're in the audience, you're interested, I think we have the email address, right? Awesome. Okay. I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. See you later.
Bye.